Your identity and your self-worth, it struggles. We talked about that, and this is a little more in detail. Low self-esteem from constant criticism or conditional love. You know, some mothers will love you, but it's conditional. It's transactional. Is if you get A's, if you listen to me, if you do whatever I say, if you come and shower me as mommy dearest, then I will give you some positive feedback. And on the other hand, there's the constant criticism. You know, you make a mistake. Children make mistakes. We make mistakes. But when you're met with a mother who points out your mistakes and who berates you for your growing up as you make mistakes, you begin to have that critical voice in your head. And even if she's not there, it's that voice is still in her head, in your head, and you represent her to the way you talk to yourself. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. Nobody wants to be with me. Oh, I shouldn't have did that. I'm not worth it. I'm not, all of those things, you begin to project your mother's negative treatment and your mother's negative voice onto yourself. And so that becomes your voice. You reinforce that. And now you're causing self-harm, and it just destroys your self-esteem. You are not a cheerleader. You're critical. And so what happens when you're critical is you no longer notice the positive things you do because your eye is only set to identify the negative things. And that's the danger in child rearing. If you only give your child attention for the negative things and not the good things, they will start to pay attention only to the negative things. So, and then there's the imposter syndrome, rooted in lack of affirmation, because you don't feel confident. You may have gotten a degree, you may have a talent or a skill, you may sing, or you may decorate, or you may be a professional, a career professional, and you may really be good at it, and everyone sings your praises, and your status is appropriate to your capabilities. Everything is saying that you are sufficient. But in your mind, because you're dealing with that critical voice, and because the being detached and not feeling worth it and low self-esteem and all of those things, you feel like an imposter. You feel like you are, if everyone really knew who you were, they wouldn't accept you and like you because you're still afraid of not being connected and accepted. So you feel like an imposter, and there is a dissonance. There's a cognitive dissonance going on between what everyone is saying about you, what your own work is saying about you, what your own gift is saying about you, and what your critical voice is saying about you. And guess what? You're more likely to believe your critical voice because it's the fear voice. You don't want it to be true. So we're more likely to bend toward the things we're afraid of, right? So that's important to notice. Do I have imposter syndrome? Then there's this chronic guilt or self-blame for unmet maternal expectations. If you are a mother, or if even your mother didn't treat you well, let me say it like this. Children are very egotistic, and it is not in a negative way. It's in a way that they can't identify others as well as they can identify their own experience. So they don't have the ability to differentiate between this is your fault, this is my fault. They somehow believe that everything is the result of them or everything is their fault. So when your mother has not loved you or your caregiver has not loved you as a child, you interpret that to mean I'm not worthy. You interpret that to mean I'm bad. You interpret that to mean I'm ugly. I'm not good enough. You personalize it. You internalize the treatment, and then you process it to mean I'm not good enough. So now how you've been treated is the mirror of how you see yourself. When you feel bad, you think that you're bad. When you feel like you're not worthy, you think that you're not worthy. You find the rationale for it and you endorse that. So when you endorse that, there's chronic guilt or self-blame. You tell yourself, my mother doesn't like me because I make mistakes, or because I don't listen to her, or because I'm not as smart or as pretty, or there's something missing in me why she doesn't love me. The deficit is in me. It's not in her. Because children, I say this often, blame themselves because a saying that children would rather live in a world ruled by God than in a world ruled by Satan. What that means is they'd rather see their parents as God than to see their parents as Satan, because that's much scarier. And so they're safer if the mom is God and they're bad, rather than if their mom is Satan. That's a little more hard to conceptualize based on how the ego is and based on the fear that I need to believe that my mother is a good person. Because if I believe my mother's a good person, then I believe there's hope for me to get a relationship with her. There's hope for me to get love from her one day. But to accept who she is, and she's not a devil. Our mothers have demons, but they're not devils. They do have deficiencies. So I'm not saying that. I'm a mother too, and I have deficiencies. But what I'm saying is that those deficiencies are how the child won't see the mom, though they rather see their own deficiency. They rather take the lack and the blame onto themselves. All right, so emotionally dysregulation. Some people, they act it out. They're just angry and irritable, but they don't have the emotional language to state what's going on with them. And when you don't have the emotional language to state what's going on with you, you can't help yourself, and the people around you can't help you. So you're always frustrated, and you feel like, can't they see me? I'm sad. Can't they see me? I'm anxious. Can't they see me? I'm traumatized. Can't they see me? Well, no, they see your behavior, but it behooves you. Well, it benefits you. Let me say that. It benefits you to express your emotions to yourself, and we're going to get into that. And then gain the strength and the courage to set boundaries that communicate your emotional needs. Because suppressed emotional needs are due to feeling unsafe. You were invalidated. Oh, there's nothing wrong with you. You had a good childhood. Or, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. I was great to you. I did this or that, And then there's also the gaslighting, where your emotional experience is, that never happened. That you were just a horrible child. That never happened. When you're responding to what's going on, it's misclassified, and you don't get to have your experience. You don't get to have your experience. You are seen as the crazy one, the black sheep. You are seen as the trouble starter, the funny acting, dramatic, all of those negativities, always complaining. You're too much, because that's gaslighting. It's saying that you didn't really experience the pain, excuse me, or the mistreatment. You're just a lot to deal with. It's because something's wrong with you. And so you learn to shut down and not even express your emotions. It causes you also to be hypervigilant. Hypervigilant just means you're constantly anticipating rejection or something happening to you and harm coming your way. And with that, that's what I said about the anxious attachment, how you're just always, looking for the rug to be pulled up from under you. You're expecting betrayal. You're expecting the boyfriend to leave. You're expecting the friend to betray you. You're expecting all of these negative things because that's been your experience. You expect your experience. You expect the repeating of your experience, which is a trauma response. It's like you don't want it to happen, but for some people, they feel like, well, if I expect it, I can brace myself for it. Like a wave, like I see the wave coming, so I can brace myself for it. And they don't want to be just overtaken. So what they do is they're just hypervigilant. And if you look for something, you will find it. If you look for someone to leave you out, or you look for all these little things, you're so hypervigilant, you're going to find something because that's what you're looking for. It doesn't mean it's really happening, but if you look for something, you will find it. And you're constantly sensitive to rejection. And sometimes it's not even rejection. It's, oh, we just forgot to invite you. Oh, we just wanted to go this time because we had something to talk about. Or, oh, I owed her a birthday dinner, so that's why we were out. Or, my husband has to work. He's trying to save money to work overtime or whatever. But you personalize everything as rejection or harm towards you. And then there's people pleasing. When you have the mother wound, like I know that it may sound like I'm repeating, but I want to go a little bit more into it with the people pleasing. Sometimes people feel like they're just nice, they're just givers. But underneath that people pleasing, many times is a desire to feel connected. And you've learned that as long as I'm doing for people, people will stay connected to me. So your value and your worth in the relationship is taking care of people. Your value and your worth in the relationship is supplying emotionally for the person, being the emotional caretaker, being the financial caretaker, being whatever the person needs you to be, just so that you can be needed and so that they can assess you as valuable. So you go about and you people please, because you've learned that when people aren't happy with you, they disconnect and they cut you off. So your role as a result of the mother wound is always trying to please. And that's not anything to be ashamed of. If you are a people pleaser and you feel incredible shame about that, I want to release you. And I want to tell you that that is a survival mechanism. You learn that you can get your needs met through people pleasing and doing what people want you to do. Now that you know that, you get to stop. You get to turn it around and accept the love of God and take care of yourself and look for reciprocal relationships where someone is giving to you and you are giving to them. But you have to know that that people pleasing or being perfect, it's a survival mechanism where you feel like if I let someone down, if I don't go here with this person, if I don't lend them this money, if I don't babysit, if I don't show up to their event, if I don't push like or comment on their section, then they're going to reject me. Living in that level of fear is just exhausting and it's terrible for your mental health. And it just reinforces that you're in danger of not being loved. And it doesn't allow you to love yourself because you become this person in order to be in other people's lives. And so it doesn't serve you. It's a survival mechanism that you don't need, but that you develop. And then with the boundaries, what that looks like is the enmeshment. When you have the mother moon and you're anxious and you're always trying to be connected to people, your emotional role is reversal. It's an emotional role reversal where the child feels responsible for the mother. Oh my goodness. As a therapist, I can't tell you how many times I've experienced this, and even in my personal life where I've observed it, where the parent or the mother makes you responsible for her emotions. The roles are reversed. You are the emotional caretaker. You are the financial caretaker. You are, in some cases, I understand when they get old that you may have to be, but even physically, it is your responsibility to take care of the parent. And in the African American community, I've seen parents begrudgingly raise their children for 18 years and then demand that their children honor them for the rest of their lives here on earth. And they will surely tell you, because I'm your mother. And society will come along and say, well, you only have one mother. And that guilt, you're guilted into a continuous role of taking care of your mother, a mother who has never taken care of you. That is so psychologically damaging. I have so many clients who have to walk in that role. And as a child, they really love their mother, but they're triggered by caring for their mother because their mother never cared for them. They're triggered by listening to their mother's problems because their mother never listened to them. They're triggered by financially being responsible for their mother because that's not how the mother has given to them. So it's a re-injury. It's a traumatic re-injury when you are put in a position to be your mother's mother. And most people will take that role because you want to be connected so bad that any role will be sufficient as long as there's a possibility of being connected. And that what that does is it just reinforces the fact that you don't have support and you don't have a mother. So it is a vicious cycle, but the endeavor or the hope is that something will click and I'll get the love as a daughter or a son that I need by me being my mother's mother, or, taking care of my mom. And then there's a fear or guilt when asserting independence or living differently. No one pours it on. I can only talk about us. I don't know about other communities, but for African Americans, no one pours it on like us. And I said a little bit of it. I carried you for 9 months and I took care of you and I paid for your modeling, your cheer. I did all this for you and you can't do this for me. There's an insurmountable amount of guilt that is laid upon you when you try to set boundaries or when you try to be in a position where you're taking care of yourself. You realize that you're an adult and no one's supposed to take care of you. So you start to take care of yourself. And then you become attacked because now you're selfish and now you don't care about your mom. And now you are betraying your mom because you are choosing yourself. That's enmeshment. Difficulty saying no due to deeply ingrained guilt or obligation. You just feel so bad because whatever reason, her story, she's sick, she's single, whatever it is. But all the things you do is out of guilt and not out of love. That's a sign that you are operating in boundary confusion, and it's a psychological aspect of the mother wound.